if we're going to think about alien creatures, then of course we're not only interested in single-celled life or lichens or something. That's good enough. And if we're discovering something, I'm expecting very simple life, because the chances are higher for that. But of course we're interested in, well, intelligent life. So intelligence is hard. How do you measure intelligence? We have all great kinds of tests to measure intelligence in humans. And of course all other animals fail for that. So making good tests to test intelligence is difficult. But we've seen all kinds of intelligence in other creatures, right? It's not about just doing useful stuff, but it's about solving puzzles. There are corvids, so basically the crow family. They are very smart animals, very smart birds, and they can solve puzzles that some young people, some older people, can't solve, right? So they've hidden food in a tube where it can't reach it, and there's a sort of spoon, but the spoon is too short. And there's another tube, and there's a longer spoon, you can't reach that, but the longer spoon would get the food. So what the crow does, just checks everything out. He grabs the short spoon, uses the short spoon to grab the long spoon, and then grabs the long spoon to get at the food after a couple of seconds. I mean, there's probably a couple of people still thinking about that, how to solve that. All right? It's really, I mean, they can solve puzzles like that. And also, again, cephalopods, very smart animals. They can solve all kinds of mazes. Octopus, maze, YouTube, go, and you can find all kinds of stuff. They're very, very interesting. So intelligence, if you can let go the type of intelligence that we have, very language-based. If you can let that go and do, well, devise other kinds of tests, you will find lots of intelligence in all kinds of animals. So intelligence is in lots of places. One of the things that we are very good at, is there someone here? The food is coming, so. One of the things that we can do is, of course, tool use. Well, there are all kinds of animals that use tools. Perhaps not fancy tools like laptops, but still, it started with humans, with simple stuff, of course. And you can see this chimpanzee here using this stick to get termites to feed itself. And that's the first start of tool use. And we see it in all kinds of animals. Elephants, pigs, honey badgers, fish, all kinds of animals use their surroundings and stuff in their surroundings to help themselves. And it is the start of tool use. And of course, we had the luck that at one point we stood up from 4 legs into 2. We could look over the savannah, we could use our hands, we didn't need them anymore to walk. And that helped us tremendously. Well, another thing that helps us tremendously is the way that we communicate. I'm communicating all the time now, of course, that's my job basically. What we are really good at is communication. And communication is so useful, the way we communicate, because I don't have to experience stuff. I can look it up, I can read about it, I can tell you about it, so you don't have to experience stuff. Most animals have to experience stuff before they learn. And most of you probably do that too, but still, you could listen to me and adapt your behavior. So language is very useful. Well, there was a film a couple of years ago made after a short story by Ted Chiang, which is terrific. And the story is called The Story of Your Life. And it was in a film called Arrival. And Arrival is about the arrival of extraterrestrial creatures. They stay in orbit around the Earth, but they send down ships with a sort of screen, and people go on board these ships and they, well, try to communicate with these aliens. And the great thing about this is that the aliens are really, really strange. And this is something that I definitely expect, if we're ever gonna meet evolved aliens, highly intelligent aliens, I think we'd be flabbergasted. We don't know where to start with that, how to communicate. I'm not expecting aliens that look like me, definitely not. So it's going to be very strange, and this is in the movie. How they communicate
or their bodies
is in a very different way.
Language has no forward or backward direction. Linguists call this nonlinear orthography, which raises the question, is this how they think? Imagine you wanted to write a sentence using 2 hands starting from either side. You would have to know each word you wanted to use, as well as how much space that it would occupy. A heptapod can write a complex sentence in 2 seconds, effortlessly. It's taken us a month to make the simplest reply.
So one of the things is they are trying to find out with a linguist how to communicate with these aliens. Because these aliens communicate in a very different way, circular. I mean, we communicate linear. I start at a sentence, then I use a couple of words and time, and then I end my sentence. And they communicate in a circle. The whole idea is there immediately. And it's also that their sense of time is very different. They sense time differently. We sense the past, the current, the future. And they sense that all at the same time. Very different. So if something is really alien, how would we recognize it? How would we ever communicate? I think perhaps we're too stupid for that still. So if we're going to find aliens, really evolved aliens, it's going to be very different. So what have we seen? So this is the summary, all right? I'm getting to my hypothesis, by the way. So we've seen all this stuff, and of course, all these extreme senses, very useful to find food or not become food. Find a partner, always great, right? All these other senses, you can hunt with it or use it to flee dangers. You can grow correctly if you're going upwards like a plant, not sideways because you want to go to the light. Of course, extreme ways of reproduction. Yeah, well, what we're doing is basically very dull. But if it works, right? That's the only thing that counts. Of course, this acid and poison thing you can use as offense or defense. You know, there are toads that have this poison in their skins. They have these colors that already scream, "Don't eat me," and if you eat them, you die. So that's basically a very good defense. And they're just toads. And all kinds of extreme life or survival modes are useful, of course, because if you can survive where no one else can, you can eat everything quietly. You won't be attacked, right? So these creatures in the deep sea, well, they have a peaceful life, perhaps, I don't know. But, and of course, you can reproduce then also. And the second set of jaws that we saw, very useful for hunting and eating, definitely. Flying and floating, also hunting, fleeing, perhaps, finding food, always very useful. This bioluminescence, again, you can use it to find food, angle for food, right? Or not become food or whatever. Reproduce, be interesting with all your lights, I don't know. Camouflage techniques, well, you can hide because you're hunting, or you can hide because you're fleeing, whatever, it's always useful. Intelligence, in general, whatever it is, you can solve problems with that. You can imagine stuff that's going to happen. If I do that, then that happens. So I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do that. And that. You can think ahead. You can solve problems that are not even here now. You can solve problems that might be problems in the future. And then, of course, communication, the big one. Communication between species, well, but inside a species, of course, useful. Most animals, well, lots of animals are social animals, and we can learn from each other. And that's, of course, a very useful thing, so that we don't have to experience everything ourselves. So, and of course, communication helps you reproduce. You can imagine that.